and there's family systems in everything, in congregations, in jobs, and in every single system that humans form communities, there's a family system there. So I got really, really inspired by that, and I looked at the Abrahamic family system through a psychological eye and ignored all the crazy theology. And you can see that being played out in their family system as well. And then I applied that to how clergy and congregations can avoid conflict by self-differentiating and allowing things to, basically play out in a system. So yeah, if you have, I'm open to questions.
All right. So you might have answered this last time and I wasn't here, but what's your connection to Unitarian Universalism? Where's your spiritual practice and stuff come from? So
when I grew up in Cuba, I was Catholic. Then when we came to the United States, my dad decided to convert all of us to Protestantism, so we were evangelical. Southern Baptists, but it was Hispanic Southern Baptists, so it's a little different than white Southern Baptists. They're more closeted about being Southern Baptists than others. I didn't even know I was Southern Baptist until I started reading the history of the church, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're Southern Baptists. And then my dad was diagnosed with throat cancer, and we became Pentecostal. I worked at a mega church here in Miami called Rey Jesus as the media person there. I had to leave because the pastor said some really awful things, and I was just like, I can't do this. I looked at my dad, I'm like, I cannot literally sit here and hear this man say what he said. And then I ended up at a smaller Pentecostal church that I thought was all about love and acceptance. And then they went crazy by doing spiritual warfare, and there was a demon in every corner, and everything was bad. And and then I came out to my parents. My parents outed me to them. They kicked me out before they did a pray away the gay on me. But that led me to the UCC, the United Church of Christ. So through that tradition, I started to go deeper into my calling. And I went to Chicago Theological Seminary is a UCC seminary, and they had the UCC and the UU share full. They're together. The clergy can serve in both. And I really started following more the UU than I did the UCC. And when I was in seminary, I like what I was reading. I like the deep history that the UU has, and theologically, I have always been more in line with UU theology than I was with UCC. And I thought that UCC was, the pinnacle of progressivism. And then I'm like, oh wait, there's more. So that was great. And I always laughed that the UCC people call themselves Unitarians considering Christ. That's what they laugh about, because it's true. They're 2 steps removed from just being full on UU. Yeah, that was the last split. Right. Yeah, and we do share that history with the UCC. We share that history with the Congregationalists, the Pilgrims, the founding of this nation, and that is, we are a very American denomination, and that's kind of cool. I really like that, and I like, to like I said, us to become a launch pad from that as we face the future together and the 21st century and beyond. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay, awesome.
So just a very quick question. Having come from Cuba, you are, of course, bilingual. Yes. Okay, which is important to brand new people in my life. Because I don't know if you heard about us, but we met at work, and her English is about as marginal as my Spanish, but we're both working on it. Let me just see if she also has a follow-up question for you. ¿Tiene preguntas? Okay.
But yes, I do. I'm fluent in Spanish. I need to practice a little more because I tend to. It's funny because I grew up. So I came when I was 7 to this country, and I grew up in Westchester, down the road from here. And but I only spoke Spanish at home, and all my friends were first generation Cubans here, or they were like me. They came very young. So even though I did do AP Spanish in high school, I guess it was easy. and you get AP credits, and it was fun. It was really fun. Like we learned a lot of things, and some literature that I had no idea existed, and I really loved. As I got older, all my friends were from the United States, but they were from other parts of the U.S. I didn't really have Miami friends, so my Spanish, if I get angry, I will speak perfect Spanish, as my parents can attest to that. But if I'm just like trying to communicate, it takes me a little time for me to like get back into it. But I'm hoping to practice, and my husband speaks Spanish too, even though we try to sometimes communicate in Spanish, but it's just so easy to go to English. So yeah, I am bilingual. I can read, I can write it, and I can speak it, but I do sound like a gringo at this point, even though I'm Cuban. Huh? ¿Tú también? Sí. Yeah, I sound. People are like, "Are you sure you're Cuban?" Because, yeah. But yeah, any other questions?
Well, I would like to, I'm sorry, I would like to know some personal, like, do you have siblings? And did you
Oh,
mention
yeah.
your parents?
Yeah.
And are they alive?
Yeah. So, all right. So I love Dan's questions because I'm just always like putting me on the spot. So my social security number is. I'm just kidding. Okay. So both my parents are alive. They're together. My dad is a dentist. My mom is a dentist, but she never revalidated her license here. So she's always been like the office manager or the dental hygienist. My dad's brother, he has a brother. He's a urologist. His wife is a anesthesiologist. They became what is it? Aesthetician. Yeah. So they became what did they become here? They became RNs here in the U.S. And I have two brothers. So I was the firstborn in the entire family system. So everyone got married, had kids, and I was the first one to pop out. Then in my family system, it's like my brother is 10 years apart, so he was born here in the U.S. And then my other brother is 12 years apart, and he was the oops baby. But, we love him. Yeah, surprise, yeah. In fact, his name is Hansel because it means something like that. And yeah, they're here in Miami, yeah. My middle brother's name is named Henry, so it's the three H's, Harold, Henry, and Hansel. I know, it's weird. And my middle brother is also part of the LGBTQ plus community. And yeah, that's, and I have a half-sister in Cuba, which I found out about on a plane going to LA when I was 18 or 19, yeah.
So, just because I've gotten the question, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, I am. I am a U.S. citizen. Yes. I have a blue passport, and what else makes you a citizen? I don't know. Like, I can tell you the Pledge of Allegiance if you want me to do it now. Yeah.
What do the symbols mean on your
The stole.
Stole? Okay. So this one is the logo for Star Trek, for the Starfleet, which is, I love Starfleet. I think it's it's what I wish the military would be today, which is just exploration and scientific endeavor. But we're not there yet, but hopefully we'll get there. So this is what that is, and it showcases diversity. People from multiple races, multiple walks of life can come together and work together and do something great. This one is the logo for Superman, which stands for hope in Krypton. And for those that don't know, Superman was created by two Jewish young people, and they base Superman on the Messiah concept. So Superman is a reflection of the Messiah in Judaism from the prophets, from the prophet writings. This one here is the maze, which is from Westworld, and it's all about finding your authentic self by going through the maze and going through the struggles. This one is a unicorn from Gundam Unicorn, and Gundam is a Japanese series that is considered to be the Star Trek of Japan, because it started in the 1960s and continues to do spin-offs and new series. And they also base their concept is something called the development of a new type, which is a new form of humanity that tries to deeply understand one another and tries to, as we go out into outer space, they don't bring the conflict from Earth into space. So I love that. This one down here is the logo for Chicago Theological Seminary, which is where I got my master's from. And this one is the logo from Duke Divinity School, which is where I got my doctorate from. And this was a gift from my husband when I graduated with my doctorate. So, yes. Yes, I did get to see the Superman movie. I will. I'm going to admit this, and I know that there's a lot of issues with this, but I am a Zack Snyder fan of the Superman, universe. And I know there's controversy with that, but I really like his vision to make superheroes a little bit more scientific and gritty. Yeah, I mean, these people were destroying buildings. Like, no one was in that building when that building fell, or like no one was on the floor. Like, I feel like that never gets addressed in these superhero movies, and Zack Snyder's tried to address it, and WB didn't like it, and there we go. Now we have pun rock, which is fine too. I love Superman. I will watch any Superman. I don't care what it is. I love it. Yes.
All right, so I think that there are some of us in the congregation, speaking of diversity of thought, right, who definitely identify as atheists or agnostic, feel uncomfortable with the word church and or the word God in any of the ways that we can possibly understand it, right? So I guess my question is just kind of, how do you see that diversity of like understanding, and how will you bring it into our congregation, into your work with us and your support?
This is a very great question. I've had this conversation already today multiple times. And I actually was speaking to my husband about this yesterday, because we also have this thought, like, what language can we use that is honest and authentic for us in the 21st century, that is not just a retelling or a reimagining of old words and old things that don't mean what they mean anymore, and people don't really know what it means. Like, I asked, they think they know, but it doesn't mean that. Yeah, like one of the perfect examples that him and I always joke about is, what is Jesus' last name? And most people will say Christ of Nazareth, yeah. But people will say Christ, Jesus Christ, like his last name is Christ. And it's like, no. Jesus is who became the Christ. But, no, it's of Joseph? No, but it's not Ben Joseph. It's just, I don't know, but it never said what his last name is. Because people assume that his last name is the Christ, like they don't know what the Christ even means, what the Christ concept is the Messiah, is what this symbol means also. Like, there's multiple ways to say it where you don't have to like utilize old language and old ways of understanding. And I would love to develop a new way of talking about who we are and where we're going and what we're doing, that brings in what I spoke about today. It's a tradition innovation, that we take what is ours, we keep the best, we lovingly reject what doesn't work for us anymore, and we innovate something new that can work for not just us in the 21st century, but for the next 300 years, until somebody sits in this. Hopefully there'll be nicer like floating chairs, maybe. But they sit out there in this building or another building, and they say, that doesn't work for us anymore. Can we try something new? And then they can build it for the next 300 years. But my goal is for this space, for this community, not just to continue, but to thrive. And I would love to develop new language. So this is something that we can talk about at the Vitality, groups that we'll do, where we can talk about like a visioning of like, where do we want to see ourselves, where are we going, and how do we want to get to that place, while also anchoring ourselves into something tangible that we can explain. This is who we are, without stumbling over words or stumbling over like, oh, well, we're this, but we're not that. But we're not this, but we're kind of that. But I don't really like this either. So to me, I feel it's important for us to have an anchor so we can tell our story. And I know that, like I said today, there are thousands of people in a 10-mile radius of this building that are looking for this, and they just don't know it exists. So I want us to tell our story to them so they can see us, they can come here, and they can build community with us.
So the occupancy I saw is 187. Are you going to be working more on every day if that happens if you get the 6,000?
Yeah, well, we can do 2 services, like Luigi says, or we can, when we get to that place, like we can start talking about like dusting off those old plans about the beautiful sanctuary that we were supposed to build next to this one, and that's something that I would, if we get, I know we can get there, and once we do, it's gonna be amazing. Because like imagine us having a sanctuary not just for you, but for multiple faith traditions to be safe and worship together and learn from one another, have like interfaith dinners together. That has happened in multiple other congregations and in other UUs across the country, and I feel that's something that we can also strive for here in this community in Miami.
And kind of to that point, we had visited, I guess, in the past 2 years from the local Baha'i chapter, which is basically the UU from the Islamic point of view. But they're here, they're in Miami, and they're meeting once or twice a month in one member's living room or another. And I feel like somebody like that would be perfect for sharing our space.
Absolutely, yes.
This kind of rising anti-Islamic.
Right. Yeah, I love, so in for my master's, I did my focus was on interfaith work. I was taught by some top people that are doing interfaith work in Chicago, and I was the only, like, the seminary absorbed a Muslim seminary from LA, and they allowed us to take courses in Islam. So I took an introduction to the Quran and the Hadith, and I was the only like non-Muslim queer person that was sitting in that classroom, and I was like, "Hi guys, like I'm here to learn, but I'm gonna write about what I'm learning from in the same way that I would write about Christianity in seminary," and it was a great experience. I learned so much. In fact, one of my favorite books is from Raza Aslan. There is no God but God, and he's actually on the board of my seminary now. So I really appreciated that, and it made me. I've always been open to it, but I like to do interfaith work. And in Miami, I started Interfaith Miami, which was the platform that got all of these progressive places together to go to Pride. And we did a concert once at Trinity Cathedral. Some of you have been to a Pride parade that I helped put together, and I did the interfaith worship service at that parade. The interfaith is in my blood, and I do want to do that because I think it's important for us to get to know each other so that we can avoid conflict of like, these people are not my people. No, these people are your neighbor. So let's get to know your neighbor.
So this is going to be a question that's kind of like tangentially related to Christine's question about language, but like, how do you envision ritual and other things like the service and like how things are and that kind of? I'm not. Yeah. Excellent question. The last time we did this, and even when I spoke to the board. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the question is, how do I envision the tradition and the things that we will do together, right? Like the what is it? The rituals. Yeah, the rituals. Last time when I met with the board, and also when I was here for the previous one, I spoke about that. I want this place to create new rituals, that define who we are, but that follow a person from womb to tomb. That our space, our theology, our community is enmeshed in them, making them a better person and making them feel that they always have a place to go to, they always have a home. And this is the home, and this is their community. Sorry. And that's something that, when a lot of times, and I say this very openly, people go to church not for Jesus. They go for community.
They go for an anchor in their life, something that they know that they can go to at any time, and they're welcome, and they're loved there, and they can grow, and they can just be themselves. I want to do that, but I want to do it with intention, and I want to celebrate when someone is pregnant, all the way to when we celebrate the life of that person. Yeah, thank you. That was good. That was very, very good. But also anywhere in between, and not just celebrate birth, but celebrate animals. Our pets are like family members. Let's do blessing of the animals. Let's bring people here so they can. I know you've done it in the past, but I've always loved that. Like people are like, oh, that's like so woke, so progressive. But it's like, no, why? Like these pets are our family. Like they're like, it hurts when we lose them. They become enmeshed in us, integrated into us.
So that was question number 6.
10.
Four
Limit is
more.
10.
I'm a fan of Reza Aslan. His book, Zealot,
Yeah.
was a really good
Yeah. Here. Sorry.
I'm a big fan of Reza Aslan. His biography of Jesus, called Zealot, was very based on the material history of Jesus. It didn't look at him as a divine person. It looked at him as a person who lived in this weird empire and this land of Herod. And I thought it pointed out that he was crucified as a rebel. He wasn't crucified in any other way. He was crucified with other rebel vagabonds that were roaming around the area. So I thought that was a really interesting read, and actually it made me believe that Jesus was a real person that actually walked the earth and actually accomplished things. Because before listening to Reza Aslan's Zealot, my idea was that he was a device used by a mythical device used by the churches to, have people, for their agenda, for their missions, for wars of conquest. That's one of the main reasons I became a agnostic atheist, was because learning about the Crusades, I was like, how are these men of God going and fighting in the Holy Land and killing people and pillaging and raiding and in the name of Jesus. Right. And so it's not punk rock, as Iggy Pop would say.
So, yes, I love Raza for that too. I do like that book a lot, and I also have a very historical. I lean on history when it comes to theology, and I like to do something that when you look at something that's happening, you ignore all of the noise, and you look at like what is happening, why was it happening, who was doing what to who, and what is the historical context of when these things were written. To me, Jesus, there's historical proof that Jesus was a real person, and you couldn't have the widespread of Christianity that had happened from that point in time without there have been a real person that touched people's hearts in a very authentic way. I don't subscribe to the miracles. I think they're back then people wrote in very similar ways that we write today, and they wrote about miracles from a point of view of telling a story, telling something that's real through imagery, and we in the present try to impose a factual, way of thinking about something so concrete, when in reality they were not writing like that. They were writing stories. They were writing mythologies. They were writing something to make Jesus even more, more grand, but to understand what it is that he was saying. And the parables are also a lot like that. And this is something that I would love to bring to our religious exploration as for adults, because we need to be educated Because the more educated we are, the less someone with the Bible screaming at us is going to be able to sell us, a false story. Because most of those people are also biblically literate. So let's become theologically literate through history and understanding of what is true and what is not, and what we can bring from the past into the present. Yes, and then I'll come to you.
Okay.
I have kind of a multifaceted question. First of all, when it comes to Jesus, all I need to know is two things. Love your neighbor as yourself, the new commandment, and the Beatitudes. I think all of the Beatitudes, each and every one, is worth a Unitarian sermon. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the poor in spirit. So Jesus has a place right in that category.
Yes, I mean, Jesus said amazing things, and there is, like I said, with tradition and innovation. You saw the question?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, go.
Also, as far as God, the great mystery that we can never hope to solve, I think there's a place for the concept of a creator. But my question for you, I enjoy the meditations that you include, so we're externalizing and then we're internalizing, externalizing, internalizing. That's very good, very healthy. I love that. The thing that I'm wondering about is music. That's my soapbox. We have our wonderful pianist, Joseph, and I'm wondering if you have a plan to expand our musical ministry.
The short answer to that is yes. There is a plan to expand the music. I like music a lot, and I constantly say to people that people can forgive a bad sermon, but they won't forgive bad music. People connect to something greater than themselves or with what's inside of them through music. Music is so important. Music is ancient. We had music before we had words, before we had language, before we had the written, before we had writing. So it's something that is true and authentic to humanity and the human experience. So I want to bring that into this place, and I want to help build up from what is to what can be. And I know that we can do that together. And with the other things, today, I said that the via negativa is the negative theology, which is the understanding that God is unknowable. And the moment that you define God, you have lost God. So I that's what I adhere to when it comes to the divine. For me, it's whatever we think it is, it's more. Whatever love we say it loves, it's more. And that's how I see it as well. And I do also, Jesus said some amazing things that are not even, they're not even about Jesus, but he was actually just retelling what the prophets said. And the prophets were retelling what ancient wisdom said. So we're all interconnected. We're just telling a different story. It's like Star Trek. We are another variation of the series in the 21st century, yeah. And we're telling the same story, but through different language, different people, in different times, with different struggles. But yet we're all struggling through empire. We're all struggling through aggression, hatred, people that are trying to subdivide us and separate us. And that is also the part of the ancient story of how people do things to hurt other people.
I thought it was interesting that you said once you try to define God, you lose him. It's kind of like Schrodinger's God.
Yeah. Just don't look in the box. You will lose it.
Don't look in the box.
I was going to say one part that I really liked about the sermon today was talking about conflict as something that's a natural part of a congregation. So I just wanted to hear more about your approach to conflict and how do you manage it?
Oh boy. Okay. So congregational conflict. I cannot tell you how many churches have blown themselves up because they did not know how to manage conflict, or they tried to squash conflict when it was just starting. I believe in something that's called healthy conflict. It's like it's I would say sacred conflict, because conflict helps us to get to the next place when we all have we all have skin in the game. And I do believe in healthy conflict. I think it's important. It's creative. There's creativity that comes out of it. And part of what I want to do is, there are so many great books that have come out about how conflict, and it's like one of them is called like the never-ending game, that it talks about, it's about game theory, where you have to have the little conflict, but then you switch, like you go into working together, and then when the other person has conflict, you switch again, but then you go back to working together at the next phase, and a conflict that ends up blowing something up, or a conflict that demands total submission, tends to be unhealthy conflict, because then there's no room for conversation, and there should always be room for conversation, because that's what the most important thing is. And in Star Trek, in the newer animated ones, Lower Decks, they have a game that's called I forget what it's called, but it's like a game that you play. And the whole point of the game is that both sides are not happy, but both sides have moved forward. So I like that. It's like, let's just move forward with bringing in both, parts of what both sides want, knowing that both sides will never be fully happy, but at least they're moving forward together. So a collective forward motion is more important to me than one side beating the other, because then that's just that's never good. That's never healthy.
Last question.
So make it good.
Anybody? Oh, no.
I have a comment. Sometimes people tell me something I don't want to hear. Sometimes people tell me something I don't want to hear, but I need to hear it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Are there any online questions? All right. Oh, last one.
I guess there's one. First of all, thank you for being enthusiastic about restarting an actual music program here again. Speaking as one voice who gets up there and sings, but there's quite a bit of musical talent, vocal and otherwise, even right here, right now in this room. So I would be very much looking forward to what we move forward into.
I actually live with amazing musical talent that, I'm not going to put him out here, but he sings really nicely. So that's it. So you want me to step out?
Yeah. So we're going to ask Harold and Dan to step out for a moment. We'll have our straw poll, and then we'll let them know what we decide. Again, the board, according to our bylaws, we only need a congregational vote to call a settled minister. If we're having transitional ministers or interim ministers or contract minister, the board has the authority to hire somebody on behalf of the congregation. However, the board, and we've heard from you guys for a long time that you want us to hire somebody, but the board did not feel comfortable making the decision without some sort of consultation, right? So that's why we've had this sort of abbreviated candidating, so that we had Reverend Marrero in the pulpit with us several times, get everybody an opportunity to meet him. He met with the staff this week. And now we're coming to you. There are 24 of us here. And we want to know who's in favor of us moving forward with hiring him as our contract minister. We, as we said before in the communications about this, we don't have the money to hire a full-time minister, so he will be part-time with us. But he'll be in the pulpit, I think, about 2 Sundays out of the month. Sometimes he'll be with us on a 3rd Sunday. Does somebody want to, I don't know, I guess. I have a question. Uh-huh. So this contract is going to be for 9 months until the end of our fiscal year. We have to let him know if we want to renew the contract by April, so he has 3 months notice. And during that time is when the board is developing the budget for the following year and all that. So we thought it would be prudent, instead of doing 12 months, to just have it end at the end of our fiscal year. So it'll be for 9 months.
How much you paying?
That is still being negotiated because we don't have all the funds that we need in the budget, but we do have the money to pay him even more than we are considering in our checking account right now. So our operational account is very healthy right now. As a matter of fact, we were considering moving about $40,000 into a CD to, get a little more interest and not leave all that cash in our checking account. But we have the money to pay him already. So they're all different. We're going to contract him to lead worship at least 2 Sundays out of the month, to provide leadership for the worship committee and to work with the worship committee. He will be an ex officio member of all the committees that we have. That means he's not expected to attend them all. He can attend and is welcome to attend, as he can, but he doesn't have a vote on any of the committees, right? So he is, just like he's an ex officio member of the board, he'll come to all board meetings, but again, he can provide his input and guidance, but he won't have a vote. And then we also are asking him to take over pastoral care and work with the caring committee, helping us rebuild the caring committee. We've talked about the membership committee and the work that the Lunas are doing, and having him, advise in that as well. Yes, I think there are going to be several different small group ministries. We've already been talking about, especially for those of us from Hispanic or Latino background, having a group about how we relate to our heritage and what does that mean in our lives and stuff like that. So that'll be probably a series. I know he's going to take it up as one of his Sunday sermons. So yeah.
What's his relationship with the paid staff?
So he will be supervising staff. That's one of the things that the board has struggled with. And yeah, and so he'll be here and communicating with them. That's why we had him meet with staff already. And I think all the feedback I've gotten from staff is that they're happy that they'll be communicating to one person. Not the whole board or different people on the board. That it's been hard. It's been really a hard transition.
Speaking as a former board member, maybe just one tiny word of caution: no more silos.
Yeah. All right. So any additional questions? If not, I'd like to move.
So, we did that strategic plan last year.
Yes.
There were 4 items on there that kind of came out: communication, fundraising.
I was bringing up the strategic plan from last year, and that there were 4 main areas that needed to be addressed. That's what came out of the strategic plan. And those 4 areas were communication within, and please correct me because I'm just doing this by memory. Does nobody remember? Communication internal and the world, administration, fundraising, and what was?
So again, we took up all those topics at our membership workshop last week. And all of that is going to be, the board is very aware, and we're working to make sure that we address those issues. As a matter of fact, a couple of things that we said during the workshop last week was that, yes, that's a problem, but we've already made progress on it, right? And so there are several areas where we're already working on and making progress to them, and that's going to continue to be integrated into our work, and we'll work with Reverend Marrero to make sure that we address them.
Yeah, so what she said and what he said and what I'm about to say is that the strategic plan stays within the board's sort of purview and making sure that things are moving forward. Administration was a big line item in that, and so solving that a little bit with Reverend Marrero coming in, but his role also would be helping to support all of that work that is led by the board.
Yeah. And I'll say just one thing. His role will be a little different than what the previous board had envisioned with contract ministers that would be just guest speakers. We're asking him to do a lot more. The good thing is that he's here in Miami, that it's not somebody that's traveling from another place in Florida to come be with us on the weekend and then taking off again. I think I want to just move to a vote because I don't want to leave them out there for a long time either. I'd like to see everybody who's in favor of us moving forward with the contract. Okay. Well, that's up to the board. So you can come to the board to the board meetings when we discuss the contract. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I believe this is just a straw vote.
Yeah, it's a straw poll.
Just a straw vote.
Yeah. All right. So, who would be in favor of the board moving forward to contract with Reverend Marrero? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. And who's against it? And who's abstaining? Okay. Good. All right. So let's welcome Reverend Marrero back. If somebody can go out and get him. We have a short mimosa service if you guys want to partake. So, no. I mean, we're being prepared. So if people want to celebrate, I think it's a cause for celebration. So we'll have a few. All right. So will you give this to him when he comes back? Yes.
So what's the verdict? Okay, well, I mean, oh, they're preparing something. Okay. What? Oh, buying dinner. Yes, I'm buying dinner for everybody. But thank you all for honestly like taking a chance with me. I know that this is hard, and I know that in the past there's been issues and things. But I can honestly tell you that I believe what I say, and I live out my passion through my work. And I'm a Miami kid, down at heart, so I know how to live in the city and how to talk to people in the city. And I know that we can do great things together. I've always felt that way since I first preached here an interfaith service years ago. When with Luigi invited me to do that, and I really just fell in love with this space. The space is beautiful, and this time around, I honestly have fallen in love with you all. You're all beautiful, and I want to make this work, and I want us to grow and to be, the community that I know that we can be. Yeah.
I hope we can provide you a beautiful chapter in your life. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, and same back at you. I really do hope that as well. So thank you. Oh, I hope we can provide you a beautiful chapter in your life. Thank you. And tell me about this coexist shirts. Like, was it planned?
Oh, no. We call each other in the morning.
They're like. I do love those shirts. They're yeah.
When I got up this morning and decided on which of my T-shirts to wear, I knew this was the only place that I would show that I could wear it. And I have another shirt to cover it when I go out. It's not funny. I mean, I know it's funny, but it's not funny.
Yeah. Yes, and here we are able to boldly make that assertion. So
I find your diverse background wonderful, absolutely wonderful. You have a good grasp of the Florida and the Miami society, and we need that here. We have to be welcoming if we want to grow the congregation, and I think you'll be a great asset in that vein. So thank you.